Hi everyone, it's me again. Yeah, but you're sick of me, aren't you? Oh, yeah. It's Frank again, Carlyle, isn't he ever off the telly? But anyway, here I am. I've got two great guests on. Well, I always say to say, well, I've got my regular, our international artist. He loves me. He says, he keeps sending me messages. Hey, Frank, how are you? All right. I'm all right, Anthony. How are you? Oh, I'm all right. And it goes on and on and on like that for about 4 hours every day. Anyway, I'll be on. And I've got another lovely guest as well, uh, Kalila Smith, an American girl. And she's beaming all the way over from America as well. And she's a paranormal. So I'll be asking her about some stuff as well. So she's a paranormal. She's, for the first hour. And I've got uh, I've got a clip to show, and I've got a fantastic thing to talk about, and you won't believe it. You will not, honestly, you won't believe it. And I'll be going up visual as well. It'll be going up visual. Now, I bet you're all wondering, well, why you're in black, Frank? And it's because of a wonderful man who passed away. Um, and we'll be talking about him more tomorrow night on the football show. Big Ron Yeats, Liverpool captain. And if you could imagine the first time, as a young, very young lad, very young me, and I seen that cup being lifted up by Ron, off the Queen as well. And I always remember the Queen being, she had a big red coat on. She had a big red coat on. And excuse me. And when the national anthem was being played, God Save the Queen, I always remember the crowd singing God Save Our Gracious Team. No one knew about that, only us. So, as I said, tomorrow evening, we've got a beautiful tribute to Fulham. We'll have all the lads talking about them, things like that. But stay with me, please, because of my very special guest, Kalila, Kalila Smith, and also Anthony. I'll just go through a few of these wonderful comments, then I'll bring. But stay with me after the clip at 9 o'clock. There's a thing there that I'll show you, and honestly, there's what you'll go like that. Honestly, it's good. Even if I say something, little surprises, little surprise. And Will Smith says, hiya Frank, sorry I missed last week's, but things were up the wall as I messaged you. Hopefully catch you tomorrow. Thank you, Will. Thank you. We said that last night, actually. Yusuf, good evening, Frank and chat. Carries on by saying, and the guests. And Neil Broderick, Rip, Big Ron, you'll never walk alone. Bastion. That's what the Shank said, wasn't it? Hey, he called him a colossus. This is a fortress. This is a bastion fortress. With him being the main man. George said, even if Frank, I really enjoyed Saturday's movie show. Sadly, missed some as the pub was calling me on such a lovely day. The pub was calling. And Yusuf, Rest in peace, Ron Yeats. And James says, the Colossus, God rest the great late Ron Yeats. Good day to you, Frank. Thank you, James. Thank you. I'm going to bring these wonderful people on now. Oh, one thing I've got to mention. I've got to mention my sponsors. Gap Painting Services. Gap Painting Services sponsors the Frank Carlyle Show. And the first, honestly, I'm not just saying it because the sponsors, you might think, Harry's just saying it. I'm not. These fellas are fantastic. They really are. And if you're a senior, you get a special discount. You really do. And I mean a special discount. And then if you're an NHS worker, one of the nurses, one of the doctors, one of anything, you get a special discount too. And honestly, they're well worth it. These lads are fully insured, time served, they know what they're doing, they're in, they're out. They're in, they're out. And your place is sparkling, whatever way you want it, whatever way you want to take it. It's sparkling. Fantastic bunch of lads as well. I think they'd even make you a cup of tea, to be honest. You a cup of tea while they're working away. But anyway, even if you're not, in that category of a senior or an NHS worker, believe you me, they're very reasonable. And that's my sponsor of the Frank Carlyle Show. Brilliant people, really brilliant. And KP, good evening, Frank. Good evening, Kate. Tony LFC, evening, Frankie. Hope all's good, mate. Thank you for the pint and the scotch. I think I'll leave me right on that. And Gary Rigby, evening, Frank. I'm literally just back from Norway. Oh, blimey, I bet your wallet's light, eh? Going into them pubs, £10 a pint or £11 a pint, whatever they are. I'm going to bring in my wonderful guests now. Going to bring in the lovely Anthony. Hey, Annie.
Good evening, Frank. Good evening, all.
How are you?
I'm all the better being with you. I'm all right, Frank. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. How did your weekend go? You and Lane?
Yeah, been busy. Yeah. Life just disappears, doesn't it?
Does it just go like like a lazy Sunday afternoon? Lazy Sunday afternoon. Is it like that? The Itchy Park sort of thing. You're just lazing about on a Sunday.
We try and keep. We've always tried to keep Sunday as a rest day, as a family day, and it's hard with the kids getting older and stuff, and life just moves around. But where possible, we're just rooted in the house. Yeah.
That's it, isn't it? And the Sunday dinner and whatever. Or, if it's a nice day, you sit outside in the garden, and I think it's great. I used to have Sundays like that too.
Yeah, that's the one, Frank. It's like the anchor to family life, isn't it? Sundays at home. Remember my mum dinners and Lainey's mums, and you call in for the visit and stuff on Sundays, and then
that day with the matriarchs, weren't they? Where you went, you always visited your mum on a Sunday because you knew that you were going to have a dinner. So, and you always got used to your mum's dinner simply because you grew up every Sunday as you got older having a Sunday dinner. So you're always used to it. And what do we say? Not unlike me mum's dinner.
Yeah, that's
Right?
exactly. Because we go with you know, I couldn't put a number to how many roast dinners we have in our life, but it's always that the high yard is always mum's dinner, isn't it? Yeah,
Always. And
yeah.
there's Tony says, "Hello, Anthony. Two
Oh,
scotches, two scotches for the Scotchman."
brilliant.
And Gary says, "It is expensive, but I don't drink much anymore. 1,000 kroner a pint. That's £8. Oh, that's cheap.
It could have
That
been.
is cheap for Norway. I know places in Norway where it's up to £12. That's why all the Norwegians come over to Liverpool to get to the game and find it very cheap, £5 a pint or whatever it is here." Apparently as well, says James MK.
Thanks, James. I am. We're good. We're reminiscing over Sunday lunch.
Yeah, well, as he says, Sundays are so quiet in Norway like it used to be here. And Steve says, "Let's go, champs." Absolutely. And I'm going to bring on this lovely lady, this paranormal lady, all the way from America, Kalila Smith. She's been on before, actually, and it was very intriguing. So stay with me, the next hour. It's going to blow your mind. And there's our lovely, this will blow your mind as well.
Hi.
Hey, Kalila, you're okay?
Hello. Yes, I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, we're fine, Anthony and I, yeah. Yeah, have you met Anthony? You have met Anthony before, haven't you?
I had the pleasure of meeting Kalila the other month.
Yeah, that's right. When she was on the last time. So listen, Kalila, what's happening? Is anything new happening in your part of the world and in your part of the profession?
Well, the newest thing that's happening is we just had we have a storm coming, a big storm. They just upgraded the storm to a tropical storm, and it may turn into a hurricane in the next 2 days, and we may be hit with that. So I might be evacuating, And I mean, as of last night, it was a possible. They were calling it PTC, possible tropical cyclone number 6 or number 9, whatever it was. But it has been upgraded, and they named her. And oddly enough, Frank, they named her Francine. So we have Tropical Storm Francine.
It's like a tropical storm when my daughter Francine, it's me. She comes.
Named it after your daughter. Yes, yes. We have Tropical Storm Francine coming right at us.
That's incredible.
I heard that and I said, I was like, oh gosh, can't make this stuff up.
No, you couldn't.
We're waiting a visit from Francine right now.
But she's coming down tomorrow to take me shopping, and she's like a bit of a typhoon when she hits me. Out.
There you go. It could be a good name. But other than that, we're at the slow time of year right now, and I'm getting all the preparations made for upcoming October. And this is the time of year where I kind of start looking over the marketing for the upcoming next year and kind of start getting everything tied up for the end of the year things and adding some new bells and whistles. We got some new things that I'm in the process of incorporating into our website right now. We've got some new fangled platform that we're going to be adding in to where our customers can tell us their experience. They can come on, they can take the tour, go to a code, link over to the code, and videotape themselves and send it to me, and then they'll be on our website. So that's kind of cool because people love taking pictures of themselves and videos, and everybody's into the selfie thing. So we're doing that. And if they have any ghostly experiences on the tour, they can share that as well. So we're getting ready to go into October pretty soon, and the veil is going to be thinning between the two worlds.
Well,
So
it's Halloween, isn't it? Really,
it
October.
starts thinning early. It starts really kind of thinning early. October is pretty much that month when anything haunted's going to get more active, and people are going to get more things on their photograph and so forth. And portals kind of start opening up. I'm seeing a lot more places with portals. I saw a post yesterday. There's some cemetery, and I can't remember where it was, and I can't flip over to it because it was on Facebook. But it's on the other side of England from you. It's some cemetery where they see a lot of UFOs and cryptids, and just not just ghosts, but just all sorts of paranormal phenomena that's culminating in this one particular cemetery. And I've seen that a lot. There was a place in Romania like that, and there's a couple places here like that where they just claim to be these massive portals where, it just seems to be a lot of shifting going on in the universe. And I believe it is sometime in November, we are going to be coming out of a phase where Pluto was aligned with something else. And that's going to be over. And it's going to be the first time in quite a while that that's happened. And we're going to be moving supposedly. Now, somebody told me this. I am not an astrologer, but we're supposed to be moving into the official age of Aquarius.
Well, that's it was the Egyptians, wasn't it, really, who lined themselves up with the stars. And it's been going on ever since.
Yeah, a lot of cultures have. Yes, it's very, very true. And I saw in one of these science shows where it's actually been acknowledged by scientists that these alignments with the planets and the stars and all do actually have an effect on us here. So a lot of this stuff is being validated now. So that's kind of fun. But other than that, just the usual thing and the usual panic of now having to run around and possibly pack up and leave because of the hurricane. And I haven't even finished making repairs from the last hurricane from 3 years ago. So I'm hoping, this one's not going to be a big one.
So, do you know, like what you said about the shows, or what you do? Does it ever get televised? Because they used to, I don't know whether they still have on our terrestrial television, these ghost hunts and things like that. You'll find a lot of ghost hunting and things like that, the paranormal, on YouTube, but it's always in America. America's, full of it, really. These particular, like closed asylums, for example, closed hospitals.
Yes, those got a lot of energy in there. But a lot of it. I've been on a lot of the shows in the past. The Travel Channel, Discovery, all of those shows in the past, and even the BBC. I've done some shows in the BBC. And we had our own show. We have our own YouTube channel called Haunted History Tours. And, so we do televise a lot of it. But yeah, you have to be careful, though, because a lot of the shows, and I shouldn't say this, people get mad when I say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of what they call reality shows in America are unreality shows. There's a lot of fake phenomena going on.
Yeah.
And it's a big controversy with the people who are very true to keeping things real and people who fake phenomena, and it's emerging more and more people like pointing.
Well, why do they do that, in your opinion? Why do they fake things?
I don't know. I guess because so many people want to be on TV. Once they started doing these reality shows, it was like this mad dash. Everybody's like trying to get on the bandwagon to be on these television shows. And I've known people on some of these shows that have stepped down because they were faking phenomena. The last one, I've done 2 in the last few years. And I found that the integrity, I won't name the names of the shows, but I found that the integrities of the shows had really gone downhill. Instead of being straight documentaries like I was accustomed to doing, they were bringing in other people and other things. And I mean, one show I did, for instance, a few years back, I made the mistake of listening to the lady who lived there to give me the history because I was very busy. And she says, "Oh, here's the history of the building." And I said, "Great, that's a big help." And I shouldn't have done that. That was a big mistake. But long story short, supposedly there was this satanic priest and he was doing human sacrifice and all of this, really over the edge things that were happening supposedly in his house. And Discovery Network got involved and they brought down their own people. And people are running around everywhere. And once they got there, suddenly the phenomena got more. There was more phenomena. And I was like, it really wasn't this active 2 weeks ago. It really was not this active. And I happened to be talking to someone about it. Somebody that worked for me back then, I ran into, and she says, "Oh, I haven't seen you in a while." And I said, "Yes, well, I'm doing this show and it's on such and such street in the Garden District." And she says, "Oh, my padrino lived on that street." And I was like, now padrino in Spanish means godfather. And I knew that meant, in the Centurion tradition. And I said, "What was his name?" And it was the same name that they were using in the show. And I said, "When did he pass?" And she says, "Oh, he's not dead. He had a stroke. He's in a nursing home in Chicago." Like, oh my gosh, no. So I decided to call the producer, and I'm like, "We can't do this. This man's not dead. We can't say this man's dead." And people are using his name and they're saying his ghost is doing all these horrible things. And it's like, this is so unethical. We can't do this. And the producer said, "We spent a lot of money on this production." And I was like, I can't get up there and say this. So long story short, I know they edited me out a lot because I got up there and I was just kind of like, and so much of it.
It's all for dramatic purposes, isn't it? And I was going to mention that actually because they've got a lot to do with the programs, the producers, even the director, because they tell you, listen, this is, and you've got to follow their instructions.
Well, you have to. And once you sign a contract, you're in. And I just did the bare minimum. And after that, I kind of stepped back from it for a while. And then I did another one a few years back. I don't know if it was before or after COVID, to be honest. And it was the first time I'd worked for Travel Channel in a while. And they came out and they wanted me to talk about something that was fake. Basically, they want me to talk about something that in voodoo that was fake. Everybody talks about the gates of Guinea. They're supposedly in voodoo, the gates of Guinea. These are the gates of the underworld, and they're in some cemetery in New Orleans. And I said, well, that's fiction. It's not real. It's just not real. I can't really say that because it's not real. So they said, well, just say what you can. Just say, hypothetically, if this happened. So they would ask me, they bait you with the questions. Hypothetically, if this were to happen, and you have to answer the questions as if, but they're going to cut that question out. So you have to answer it in a way in which the audience knows what you're talking about. So they would say, well, can you rephrase that? And by the time it's all over, by the time it was all said and done, they had me validating this not real thing. And they even portrayed me. They took video of me in the beginning in a voodoo shop. And they put in there that I owned the voodoo shop and I was friends with the owner. She calls in and she says, why did you get on TV and say that you own my shop? And I was like, I didn't. I swear I didn't. And so it was just so crazy. And I walked away feeling really not good about either one of those shows. So I kind of pushed away.
Yeah, I think a lot of, fakeness, to be honest, just to satisfy, the person who's sitting in front of their television. So you're entertaining them. But you hit the nail on the head there, when you said that's fiction. It's not reality.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of unreality, shall we say. Steve, he says, Kalila, which state has the most UFO sightings?
Well, there's a couple. I am not a UFO expert by any stretch of the imagination. I actually did some investigating, and I actually wrote a book about some of the phenomena in Miami area, which is in Florida. And there's a lot of sightings down there. Now, yes, there's also a lot of military bases as well. But what's interesting about Miami is that it's right on the edge of a triangle. So if everybody's familiar with the Bermuda Triangle, where it's just planes go missing, boats go missing, most people try to go around it rather than through it. And you've got this triangle, and one tip of it touches Miami. And I found that to be very interesting, that people see a lot of things. And that's what I'm talking about with portals. But the other place that supposedly has the most sightings that has been documented in the United States is going to be Area 51, which is I think either Colorado or New Mexico.
Well, I've got a thing about UFOs, to be honest. I've actually seen one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of sightings out in the UK. You've had a lot of places.
No, but this was in France. I seen this. It was huge. And I'm used to it.
Steve's question good enough. But I'd like to hear your experience with your UFO. That's interesting.
Well, I'm useless at estimating size and distance. When I first got a flat, years ago, I went to a shop. I'll put it this way: I went to a shop and I ordered some carpet. I said, "I'll have to get some carpet." And the fella, he was like that. He looked at me and he went, "You want this?" I said, "Yeah, I want this and I want that." And I gave him yardage and whatever. And he went, "Do you realise that you can fit your whole block with what you're ordering?" And the man came out and measured it, and you know what I mean. So I'm useless at estimating. And this thing that I seen, it was less than a mile away. Less than a mile away. We were looking down at it. This is in the Dordogne district of France. We were looking down at it, and they reckon this was huge. I've never seen anything like it in all my life. And the strangest thing is, when we were seeing these people, it was on an incline as we were driving up, because we were going down to a place called Perpignan. That's where we were going, 5 of us. And as we drove up, like that, we seen these people outside their cars, and there was a couple of caravans being pulled, camper vans, anyway, they were being pulled. And they were all stopped and they were looking down. We thought, as we were going up, that there'd been an accident, something had rolled over, like what we call trucks, or a camper van or a caravan or something. And as we walked up, here's the strangest thing. We walked up and it was all silent. Everything was silent. No one was saying a word. Not one person was saying a word. And it was very quiet. And even as we got out the car, when we walked over to see what's happening, we wasn't saying anything. We just never spoke. Even when you're curious, you turn around and say, "I wonder what's going on there."
Right.
So we walked over, and then we looked down. And we looked down at this, like a gunmetal colour. Gunmetal.
Right. Okay.
At this thing, and as I said, it was like it was less than a mile away, but the diameter of it was, according to all of most of the people there, especially the lads who I was with, was 350 foot in diameter.
Oh my God.
350 foot.
And it was it landed on the ground? Was it on the ground? Or was it just hovering?
It was hovering. And what was underneath, you get a lot of these in France, actually. Not UFOs I'm talking about. I'm talking about the trees. And they were bending over the trees. As that was,
oh wow.
Where am I? As that was hovering like that, the trees were bending over like that. The trees were bending over, and the trees at the side, on the like where am I here? On the periphery, of the, The coordination's terrible. On the periphery, you say here, well, those trees that were there, they were just stationary. They were stationary. Yet the trees underneath this was, they were just bending over like this. The tops of them.
What year was this? What year was this?
This was 1979. So anyway, as I said, we looked over, and then we jumped in the car. It shut off. It shut off. It just went vertical into a clear blue sky. And as I said, that thing, it was solid. It was solid.
Wow.
Just took off, and it just went up like that. And it went at such a phenomenal speed that it disappeared within 2 seconds.
That's very strange.
And it wasn't clouds or nothing. It was clear blue sky. And it just disappeared. So, that's my experience of them. So that's why I'm very interested in ufology, to be honest. Very interested. But the Pentagon's come out, haven't they, and said they've actually admitted that it's UFOs.
Yeah, there's a lot now that there's a lot of controversy right now, a lot of things coming out into the open, a lot of things that we're hearing about, because it's, there's a lot of exposés being done on some of these private YouTube channels too. But it's very interesting, and I don't know how familiar you are with the name Allan Kardec. He was actually a Frenchman, and he is the father of Spiritism, not to be confused with the church, the spiritualist church that you have in America. It's more of a philosophy, and it was he put it together in France, and he wrote numerous books about it. But anyway, most of the people who continued to use this philosophy of Spiritism were people. It became very popular down in the Caribbean, and Cuba, and in Brazil, and Central America. So a lot of the religions like Santeria and Candomblé and all do these spiritual misas. They sit as mediums, and they do it the way he had put it together, with a certain series of prayers and so forth. But long story short, he wrote this, and then this became very popular in Brazil. And a lot of the mediums in Brazil, and it only happens in Brazil. This is what's so weird. It only happens in Brazil. A lot of the mediums in Brazil started writing books. You had people who wrote books, like someone would die and they would start communicating through someone else, and this person would write a book. Well, the most famous person who did that was Chico Xavier was his name. And he wrote a book, and I read several other books. And interestingly enough, in these books, when these people that they're supposedly channeling through their writing are describing what they see on the other side, what they're seeing, where they are, they describe things that sound very much like what we would call a UFO. They describe getting into what they call an airship and coming back to the earth plane, where they come and they can visit relatives and they can see what's going on with them. There's, when we get off, I can put in the chat. There's a movie that was done about one of the most famous cases. It was about a doctor, Dr. Andre Luz. And that was one of the first books that Chico Xavier channeled about Dr. Andre Luz. And, the tagline of the movie was, his life began when his life on earth ended. And the book in Brazilian Portuguese was called Nosso Lar, which was called Our Home. But it was done with American, they have American subtitles in it, and it's called The Astral City. And they did this fantastic movie on it. Another one's supposed to be coming out this fall to follow up on this one. But these people, and this was written like many, many, many years ago, long before any of this UFO stuff was being documented, long before people had computers like we do now. And this man described through Chico Xavier's writings going to this place, they call it the library. He wanted to see what was going on with his family. And you'd have to make an appointment, and they'd go to this place, and it looked like a big library, and they would sit at a desk, just like I'm sitting at a desk right here in front of my laptop, in front of my desktop. They would go to a computer, and they would press in what they want, and the computer would show them their loved ones. And the loved ones couldn't hear them, but they could hear their loved ones. It was very strange, but it was very futuristic. So it was about the afterlife, but at the same time, very space-like. And they would get on these airships and fly around this astral city that supposedly is located like right above Earth. It's very strange, very, very strange, and very fascinating, because I've always wondered, and this has been brought up before where people have talked about, the ancient aliens and so forth. Are we seeing beings from another planet, or is this possibly beings from another dimension?
That's
Distance, possibly.
Well, there was 2 pilots. I'm talking when flights, it was like the first time that they crossed the Atlantic and things like that. And this was all cock and brown, 2 British, and they went in one of those double wing planes, those old planes. And there was radio broadcasting back, and where they were going over the North Pole. That's where they were going to explore, the North Pole. Anyway, as they were sending messages through, they said, this is phenomenal. And what they were relaying back, this is the North Pole. They said, it's like a big black hole. We can see a big black hole. So anyway, as they went over it, they were looking down, and they said, you're not going to believe us, but there's trees and there's rivers. Trees and rivers and grass. It's very green where they were, as they were relaying this information back. Then they disappeared, never to be found again.
Oh my gosh. I'm documenting some of this stuff so I can look it up later.
Try and get all cock and brown. That was incredible. But I tell you, our particular episode, which, the crux of it was, as I said, as we walked up, to view this, we didn't know what we were viewing. And we never said a word, as I said. Everybody gets back in their cars and camper vans or whatever they were. But there was no sound. There was no talking, no muttering, no nothing. And we travelled all the way down to Perpignan, because we were taking these, not toll roads, we were taking these trunk roads. It took us hours, but we didn't want to pay the money because we were poor people then. Poor students, as they say. So anyway, as we got down there, it was incredible because we never spoke a word to each other when we got down. And there was a lad from, very posh, this lad from Newcastle named Chris. And as we got out, we always went to this bistro. We got to know the owner of the bar, and he knew us. And when we walked in, we went every year. And when we walked in, he greeted us, and good evening, my shoes, Anyway, as we walked in, the first words out of Chris was, today, gentlemen, we have experienced the space age.
Wow.
Think about that.
That
always resonates with me, what he said. So, there's things like that, which is phenomenal. And another time, I went out for a drink at Christmas with a friend of mine. We were at university together, and this fellow was one of the most cynical people ever. This man. A fellow named Jared Sheridan. the most cynical person, human being I've ever known in my life.
And
we
nobody knew what that thing was doing as it was hovering there. I mean,
it was just there. It was just on it.
that's bizarre. That's very strange.
It was
Yeah.
just on it.
There was no missing people. Like people didn't like disappear.
No, not well. We don't know because when we got back, we just forgot about it. Then we forgot about it. Not forgot about it. We just never spoke about it. Strangely enough. And the people who got in their vehicles were just the same, I suppose. Because no one spoke. That was the curious thing. No one spoke about it. Well, we didn't, and I suppose those people, even while we were there, no one spoke a bloody word. Nothing, no sound coming from the group of people that were looking down. There was only about between 12 and 14 people, as I recall, looking down at this thing. But as I said, I was out with this fella. I was at university here in Liverpool. One Christmas, we went for a drink, and we weren't intoxicated or anything. And we were coming home, and we looked up, and this Gerald, he looked. He said, "Look at that." And as we were looked up, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry. As we looked up, he said, "Look at this," and we seen you'd call them stars, but they were crisscrossing.
Oh wow!
There was no beams, because they were high up. These round things, and there was and then going in formation. And then splitting up again like this, and then coming back together, and they just zoomed off. As we were looking at them, they zoomed off northwest at a phenomenal speed because it was a clear night.
Wow!
And they're the two experiences I've ever had with UAP. They called it unidentified aerial phenomenon.
Yeah.
Now, rather than the UFO.
So they're changing names of things, and I don't remember when it was, but there was some article that I was looking for something else. When you're looking for one thing on the internet and something else pops up, and you go, "Oh, I'll have to get back with this." But a few years back, I remember seeing something that said, at the time, they referred to him as Prince Charles, but they said, King Charles had witnessed a UFO at some point in the UK, and it's documented somewhere. If it really happened, I don't know if it's true or not, but there was some article claiming that he admitted to, seeing some sort of UNO. Lots of odd things go. You can hear a lot of growling.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of a joke actually, because the football fan, he normally comes on the chat on the football, and he said lots of things go on in Liverpool. You can hear lots of growing all the time from Goodison Park. I think he's growing. I think it means growling.
Growling, yeah, that's what I would think too. So what is Goodison Park? What is that?
Well, in Liverpool, there's two football clubs. There's Liverpool Football Club.
Okay, they're growling. Yes, well, they're.
And Everton are not doing so good, unfortunately. So that's why we changed. And that's the name of their ground.
The growlings of the disgruntled football fans.
Yeah. But what do you think of Gary Rigby? He says, "I love Norse."
Norse mythology, yeah, that's fascinating too. And trolls in the forest. Yeah. Supposedly, there's all sorts of stuff on the internet, on Facebook, guys. I just reposted something recently, and I saw it again pop up. Somebody had put a video together. It wasn't Norse, but it was actually Irish, and talking about the fairies and how they're real, but they're not these little cute little things that we talk about. They were like pretty vicious, and but
well, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, you know, Sherlock Holmes fame. He said he actually witnessed a fairy.
he was a
And he
big
believed in them.
person in parapsychology and paranormal investigations and all. He was huge.
Well, getting back to that Norse, Kalila, do you think that there's a connection, you know, as he says in, you know, Norway? Now, Norway, the more north you are, you're in the tundra, which is very cold. It's always snowing and ice up and whatever. That's why Father Christmas lives up there. But get away from Father Christmas. Right. You've got the trolls there. Over in America, now, you look at the two countries, you know, they're more or less like parallel as in geography, if you know what I mean.
Okay.
And they've got Saskatchewan, not Saskatchewan, that's a place.
Sasquatch.
Yes, thank you, Saskatchewan.
Well, Saskatchewan, that's however you say it. I'm not saying it wrong. That's a place in Canada. That's in North America. But yes, but you know,
Now,
you know, you brought it.
But also, can I just finish on this? And because I want to ask you the question. And in the Himalayas, again, high up in altitude, you have the Yeti.
Yep.
So, do these things really exist? We've never seen one, you know, honestly, we've never seen one, like the Loch Ness Monster, never seen that. But do you believe in these things? Like,
and I've been on hunts for Bigfoot creatures. I've seen something. I'm not going to say I saw a Bigfoot. Okay. I saw something that I could not identify that would fit the description of what they're calling. I mean, here we called it the Honey Island Swamp Monster because we have a big swamp that nobody would go into, you know, because it's just so vast and it's just raw. You get lost in there. And I mean, this was a long time ago. It was probably in the 80s. We didn't have cell phones yet. You couldn't take a picture of anything. And I was coming back from a party over in that area. And I was coming back from Mississippi to Louisiana. And I had come upon a sign that said next exit 5 miles. Now, right before coming to that sign, now it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. It was February. I'll never forget that because in February, we have a weird kind of winter where I guess it's just wet enough that at night, everything gets foggy. January and February, it's very foggy here at night. And this was a very thick fog. I could only see, I was in a minivan, of all things, I was in a minivan. I could not see anything. I could see where the headlights with the fog in front of them. So I was going kind of slow, you know, for the interstate to make sure I wasn't going to slam into something, but I could not see anything. So if I looked to the side or to the back, I saw nothing. But as I came right before that sign that said next exit 5 miles, something stood, you know, you could see a little bit of that. You know, they have the dotted, do you guys have like the dotted line in between, like the highway? So I'm on a 2-lane, one-way part of the interstate highway. And right on the line, I saw something standing. Now this thing, all I saw was its legs. It was taller than my van. I did not see the upper part of the torso or arms, wings, head, anything like that it might have had. I saw only the legs of this being. And it was a light color. Unlike a lot of people say these Bigfoot things are brown. What I saw, if you took a sheep per se, you know, sheep's wool when they get really like overgrown and they have to be sheared. This looked like it had more like a wool, kind of like sheep's wool, but it had all kind of sticks and leaves in it. It was very dirty looking. I mean, it's living in a swamp. It's bound to be, but it was that light color. And I mean, I was going fast enough that if I would have hit it, I would have wrecked. It would have crashed my van. And I went by it relatively fast. and it didn't move. Now, if that would have been any other kind of normal animal, usually they're going to, I mean, say for instance, a deer is there, they're going to dart somewhere else if they see suddenly a vehicle coming.
Something coming at them, yeah.
I would have been 6 inches over to the left. It would have hit my mirror. Let's put it that way. So I was close enough to this thing, and I'm in a big enough vehicle that it had to be aware of its presence. Didn't move, no movement whatsoever. And as soon as I passed it up, I looked into the rearview mirror, saw nothing. And then I got a whiff of that, what they always describe, that really strong smell of a wet dog. And it was like, oh, wow, that's weird. That's very, very weird. And then I saw the sign 5 miles to the next exit. And my first inclination is, what's that? I need to go back. To go and see what that was. And then it's like, okay, let's think this through here. You're going to drive 5 miles in the fog and you cannot see, to get back, to come back through the fog, to circle back, to possibly hit the thing. And it was like, no, better I don't go by this thing. So I got home, and and I told my then husband about it, and he looked at me like I was crazy, and he said, well,
why do people say that? Why do people say, oh, just dismiss it, offhand, out of them, just say, oh, they're crazy,
That's what
why did he say this?
He said, there was no way for me to take a picture, call, or anything. And he said, oh, he says, you were going past, he says, that there's this farm up there and they have ostriches and emus. And I was like, no. I said, I know what the legs of an ostrich or an emu look like. And they are, they look like chicken legs, only they're big. They don't have fur on them. They don't have like.
No, we know what it is.
And then he said, well, it was probably a bear. Maybe it was a bear standing upright. And I said, well, the only kind of bears we have here is a brown bear. And I said, so unless we have a polar bear that lives in the swamp, it was not a bear. And to this day, I don't know what it was. And it was funny because we had no internet. So I was having to look into the phone book, go through the yellow pages, call swamp tour companies in that area and ask them about the Honey Islands. And everybody thought it was a prank. They would hang up on me. And so I got nowhere with this. So it was like, oh, well, okay. So fortunately, many years later, a decade later, we're doing haunted history tours and people are cropping up with this cryptozoology all over the place. So I did go on some hunts for Bigfoot, never finding anything. Nothing's ever been found. No. There's been no droppings from it. There's been no carcasses found.
There's only been. I'll have to finish in a moment, unfortunately. But I want you to ask. I want you to, not answer the question, but what you think about it. But before that, there's only been, they reckon, one footage of film of a thing that they think is Bigfoot, and that's going. You might have seen it. You just see it going across, and it stops and looks over.
I think they figured out that was fake. I think that.
Yeah. I was going to say that. People say that it was fake afterwards, but why? Why do they say these things? What are they trying to prove?
People want attention. I mean, like the woman who had that extraordinary story about the man who lived there, who was not a satanic worshiper, who wasn't even dead. There was this whole big story, but she was getting the television crews coming over there, and everybody was making a big deal, and she was getting a lot of attention out of this. And I guess people just want attention.
Yes, but everybody tries to get attention, unfortunately. But when it comes down to faking, the likes of Loch Ness Monster, the likes of a Yeti as well. But I read a story, and I forget the title of this story, and it was about a prisoner who escaped from a gulag in Russia, and he went right through these forests and all the dangers of these huge things, huge forests. Him and five others. The five others died, unfortunately, through exhaustion, through whatever, because they were going through the seasons of everything. If you could imagine escaping from one of these gulags in Siberia, right through it. And he got to, here's what here it is. He gets to the Himalayas. This is just before I think it just started the Second World War. He was arrested in Germany as a spy.
Oh
not in Germany, in Russia as a spy, Soviet Union as it was then. Then he was put in this gulag and he escaped, as I said, gets to the Himalayas. And as he was crossing the Himalayas, he was a captain in the army, this fella, but they accused him of spying. Anyway, as he's looking, he was passing this thing, he was trying to get to India, the Himalayas, you see. So he was trying to get to India, and as he was passing in this mountain range, he seen these huge footprints. And as he went further up, he was looking down, and he seen these huge things, beings, standing. Couple was sitting, but these were huge.
Oh wow!
And obviously they were the Yetis. I forget the title of the book, unfortunately.
Oh, if you figure it out, send it to me, because I'd love to read about that. Well, there was some other thing that happened in Russia. Some people went up there. I don't recall the whole story, but there was a group of people at some point that went up to this certain area in Russia, and I don't know if they were up there for a sporting reason to see if they could climb a mountain. Not real sure of all the details, but and I'll have to Google it and I'll send it to you guys.
Oh, is it that? It sounds like Daytona.
No, it was where they went, and they were never found again. But their tents were all torn up, and bodies were all torn up, and nobody can explain. There's no animal that would have done that to these people, and it's a mystery. It's a total mystery of what.
I forget where they were. What part? It was in the Urals. I know that. Where they were, they were explored. These were 5 or 6 American students, I think.
There were students. I don't
know
if they were American or not, but I know that I think they were students, and they were going up there and.
They were filming. These people were actually filming what you're saying about these explorers or whatever they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and they were listening
about it. Yeah.
Oh, listen, we'll have to finish, unfortunately, because we always
run out of time.
Listen, just before you, James M. Casey, Sumerian astrology, one of the earliest known systems of celestial observation.
Oh wow! Okay, I'm familiar with it now. Not at all.
No. Okay. You must come on again.
I always want to come on. I always want to come on, Frank. And I'm still coming up there. I'm not coming in November. I'm coming in March.
I know that. Jason was explaining to me.
In March, I'm going to, be poking around in Liverpool.
Try and stick around for the beginning of the second half of this show. I'll amaze you. Okay.
I want to be amazed. Thank you. Thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Thank you. Good.
And you.
Yeah.
Lime Street was known as Lambkin Lane because here, where Lime Street Station stands, were lime kilns belonging to a certain Mr. Harvey. And it wasn't until the 1749 infirmary was built on the site of St. George's Hall. Now, the doctors complained that the fumes from the kilns were bad for the patients in the infirmary. The kilns, unfortunately, were demolished around 1806. Therefore, with the demolition of the kilns and no kilns to be seen, they had to change its name from Lambkin Lane to Lime Street, which we fondly know today. By 1830, it was the great age of the railway. A mile or two up the road was Edgehill Station. However, the railway really needed to come into the heart of the city, and the chosen venue, Lime Street Station. Stations up and down the country were going to be transformed also, and Lime Street was going to be no exception, with Romanesque facades. Liverpool's first-class architect, John Foster Jr., was brought in to give the new station a Roman theme, Roman arches. And remember, until very recently, these arches were hidden away for many, many years by some hideous, hideous buildings. Look at them now. Just how John Foster Jr. envisaged in all the glory. And aren't they just beautiful? By 1836, and with the station in place, the infirmary had now become a lunatic asylum. The asylum had to go because it was only the rich people at the time that could afford to go on the trains, and they didn't want to see the lunatics walking about the grounds of the lunatic asylum. So the lunatic asylum was demolished in 1836, and by the following year a competition was held to build a grand building on the site. And this was the outcome: Harvey Lonsdale Elms's St. George's Hall. If you think this is impressive, wait till you come with me next door. How's this for a B&B? Because the rich people coming into Liverpool couldn't stay in lodging houses. So Sir Alfred's Waterhouse built this magnificent Western hotel. And at one time, it was huge for the amount of rooms it had, 300 in total. Prior to the First World War, Liverpool's red light district was down at the Pier Head. And for obvious reasons, the area became restricted at the outbreak of the 1914-18 conflict. So from the Pier Head, all the prostitutes had to ply their trade here at Lime Street Station. And who's the most famous of them all? Maggie May. So much so, they even named a song after Maggie herself. Here on the plateau stands a statue of Major General William Earl, a Liverpool lad who was actually born in 1833, Hope Street. William Earl joined the army in 1851 and rose through the ranks, achieving the rank of Major General in 1880, the same year that Liverpool received its city status. He sailed up the Nile and his commands were split into two. He went on to fight the enemy who was actually skirmishing with the British, and his other commands went on to Khartoum. Unfortunately, the following year in 1885, he was killed while storming the enemy. He was brought back to Liverpool to be buried at Allerton Cemetery. The statue was unveiled on December the 16th, 1887, and the sculptor was C.B. Birch. And here are our wonderful cenotaph, along with thousands of others he's remembered every year. This is the poshest chimney in the world, and I wouldn't look out of place on the streets of New York next to the Empire State Building, for example. When I say chimney, what I mean is it's an air vent for the Mersey Tunnel, and there's one on the other side of the water in Birkenhead. This is another masterpiece by Liverpool's own finest Art Deco architect in the world, Herbert J. Rouse. Even though it's just an air vent, the details that went into it, Art Deco details, is amazing. And that was typical of the 1930s. When you look at the basalt statues, one has its eyes open and the other has its eyes closed. That represent day and night because the tunnel is used 24 hours a day. Even though the bells of St. Nicholas's are calling the congregation for the service, I'd like you to stay with me just a minute longer. And what goes completely unnoticed here in George's Dock Way is the statue of Amy Johnson, the greatest female aviator of all time, and the sculptor Edmund C. Thompson. When we talk about detail, Thompson even put a goggles and a scarf on.
What's he think of that, eh? I had my hair cut yesterday, you know. Had my hair cut, raised up. My barber came and seen me. Said, come on, cut that mad head of yours. So I had to cut. Raised up. Raised up I am. It's just too long. And he was going to go away for 3 weeks. But anyway, it's cut and I'm delighted with it. So what do you think of that? What did you think? Eh? What did you think of that? I'm going to show you something now. I'm going to show you something now. And Anthony, I'm going to bring Kalila in because I can see her sitting there. Don't want to sit in her on my own.
I'm sitting here. Yeah. I love the video. That was awesome, and I like your haircut too. It looks good. But I love that video. That was interesting. So they put that big, giant hotel right on where the asylum was?
Yeah, it's the hotel's facing, but this is St. George's Hall that they put on the site of. When you come to Liverpool, I'll show you.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Lots of Americans. I brought Americans in. We've got a massive thing called Tesco's, and the chairman of Tesco's asked me to bring them around. I said okay.
Oh wow!
Because he has his counterparts from America. And what's in there, Kalila, will blow your mind.
Oh wow! Neat.
With a massive, and I'm talking massive connection with America. A dark side, by the way.
Ooh. Interesting. Very interesting. Yes.
It's very interesting, and you'll go.
Yeah.
These Americans were absolutely bowled over by what I said about it. And they couldn't believe it. They believed it, but they couldn't believe it at the same time.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see it.
And it's massive. See, Liverpool has more connections with America than any other European city. Wow. Did you know that?
No, well, I did. Well, I mean, I knew from, the Beatles and everything and the British invasion with the music.
No, it's very historical, very, very historical.
Wow.
Going back hundreds of years. Is Liverpool and America. Don't forget that when the New Wales was formed, shall we say, it was already there. I'm a historian, and I don't say that it was formed. It was already there, and I don't like the only things that were discovered in my opinion, the only things wasn't land, because there was already the indigenous people there. So there wasn't discovered. It was founded, if you know what I mean. The only things that were discovered was the wheel and electricity
Right. Yeah. Right.
and everything else, you know,
Yeah.
and pasta, pizzas. The discovery of a pizza. But anyway, what I want to do now, this is a cracking little thing. It's only going back to you, Kalila. The reality shows are all fake to increase the audience numbers on the channel. Our lives are one big act.
I agree, Steve. I agree. Yes, and I don't like it, but it
And
is that. Yes.
this blogs, Liverpool vlogs, he says, yes, a lot of the haunting and paranormal witness series or stories based in the USA. I think it's more because of the vast population and size of the whole country rather than the history side of it.
It could be. It could be. We do have a lot more area, but you guys are a lot older too. You know, so you have a lot more history than we do.
Yeah, we do actually. But anyway, let's get away from that, because how about this? You're gonna love this. I've got to talk right through, okay? Anthony,
Yeah.
you're gonna be surprised at this. Kalila,
I can't wait to see it. I want to see it. Whatever it is.
you're going to wet yourself, Kalila.
I hope not.
Right? I'm sorry there.
Oh wait.
Murder on the Titanic. Murder on the Titanic. On the 23rd of March, 1912, William Davis escapes from Dartmoor prison. Davis was sentenced to death for the murder of Doris Turney at Exeter Crown Court on March the 18th, 1912. On the 3rd of April, bodies of Isabel Turney, Rachel Jones and Simon Eves were found in Haverstock Road, Southampton. Superintendent George Harvey takes charge of the investigation. Turney, Jones and Eves were all strangers. This was a lodging house, by the way. Harvey was a very experienced policeman, detective, very experienced. And on April the 6th, the body of Alfred Bassett found in a trunk at a warehouse on the dockside. Warehouseman John Dawes arrested for the murder of Bassett. Dawes pleaded his innocence to any involvement of the murder, but did know the victim. So he knew Bassett. He knew him. He knew who he was. And yet he was arrested for his murder because it was found, you see, in this trunk. So they just blamed him. Why do you think they blamed him? He's the warehouseman where all the cases and everything else go on to luxury liners. All the cases. So he could have been pilfering, opening cases and pilfering from them. So you just don't know. So anyway, he was arrested. The crew list of the Titanic maiden voyage has one Alfred Bassett.
Okay.
So he was a member. He was a crew member.
Crew member, yeah.
So Stuart Gosling and Bert Johnson, both Liverpool crewmen, know Bassett from earlier White Star voyages, because most of the crew, Kalila and Anthony and everybody else on chat, were from Liverpool.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
Most of the crew, they were all Liverpool lads, simply because the White Star was registered here, a Liverpool company, and albeit that it was sailing from Southampton, the crew went down there to board the ship, especially the very first officer, who was a fellow there by the name of Lightlow. I forget his first name. Lightlow. Anyway, so this Gosling and Johnson both knew this lad, Bassett. They knew him.
Oh, wow.
From previous White Star's voyages. And three deaths occurred on the Titanic. Captain John Smith ordered that no mention of deaths be broadcast until the ship arrives in New York. So everything was suppressed.
Oh, yeah. That's not surprising.
Because, you've got to understand, if anyone found out about the murders, there'd be panic on board. This is the maiden voyage. This is the super rich on there. But there's also steerage people, especially from Europe and Ireland in particular. So they were all in the steerage. And it would have just set the alarm bells ringing if, 3 people who were found dead on the ship. It would have caused panic, especially among the rich. And you'll find out more in a moment. But also, you would have had the migrants that were going over to America. They would have been panicking as well if they would have found out about 3 murders. So that's why John Smith said, no mention of this.
Oh, wow.
No mention of the murders.
Now, what happened to William Davies? Did they get him back in prison, or was he on that ship? William Davies, he escaped from the prison.
Look, listen, I haven't finished yet.
Oh, okay.
Well, I said you've got to let me talk. I might as well end it now and just say, oh, well, here's what happened.
I thought that was the end of the story.
It'll all come to fruition. Okay, it'll all come to fruition, Kalila. All 3 deaths were under suspicious circumstances. The bodies of Mr. William Reed, his wife Norma Reed, and ship steward White was kept in the brig. Right? So, not only was Norma Reed and William Reed, but also the steward. So, you can imagine that these were first-class passengers because they had their own steward.
Right.
So he was murdered too. He was murdered. He was dead. So he was, obviously, whoever the murderer was,
right,
seen him in there and killed him. Okay, killed him as well. So Bassett during the maiden voyage was not seen at his post in the boiler room since signing aboard. So Superintendent Harvey learns from witnesses that the escaped convict, William Davis, had been seen in the area of Averstock Road, the scene of the murders.
Oh, wow.
These other 3 murders that was found in this lodging house, where people went there to stay there overnight, to board ships if they were going away. So Harvey concentrates around the area of the murders. PC John Sims informs Harvey that Bassett was a boilerman working on ships and was waiting to board the Titanic for the maiden voyage. So he was going to board it, you see. So he's found out now, Harvey, Superintendent Harvey. And a fourth body was found on the Titanic. And it belonged to an Irish migrant from the steering hold, Joseph O'Rourke. And he was put in, so all the bodies are being put in the brig. They're putting in the brig to keep out of the way of any passenger or anything. Witnesses actually see a shadowy figure where the body had been found, the kitchens of the second class area. Now this is the body of O'Rourke. So they seen a shadowy figure there, you know, reaching around. And he ended up dead, O'Rourke. He must have just been walking around and was killed. So the boilermen report Bassett, and they were saying, listen, you know, he's not doing his work, he's skiving. It's what we call over here, you know, skiving, deliberately not going to work. You know, you skive off work, you know, you don't want to do the job. And this is what the two lads said, you know, who knew Bassett. And they said, you know, he's skiving, he's already, we know that he signed on here. But little do they know that Bassett is actually dead. And no one had seen him. Gosling and Johnson worry about the missing Bassett, so they report to the first officer, Light Lolly. Light Lolly becomes suspicious about the mysterious crewman, Bassett. So he's not Bassett, what we've got to understand, hasn't been seen. And little does he know, Light Lolly, or the two fellas who knew him as well, they don't know that he's already been found dead in a trunk back in Southampton. So Light Lolly becomes suspicious. Don't forget, Light Lolly knows about the murders, but they, you know, no other crew know about them. Only these officers know about them. Only the officers, and they can't say anything. He couldn't tell anybody. Do you understand?
Yes, that's bizarre.
Okay. Now, Superintendent Harvey sends a radio message to the Titanic inquiring about Bassett or Davis using his real name. So this is the first time now that they get a message through inquiring about Bassett. Or, you know, even if Davis is using his real name, will he be using his real name? You know, could he have got on board this Titanic to get away, you know, from the country?
Right.
From the country. You're enjoying it so far?
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Anna?
Yes.
Indeed, Captain Frank.
There you are. Harvey received a message back from the Titanic. Bassett, being investigated by First Officer Light Lolly, will be kept informed. Special crew members were picked to scour the ship to find Bassett. Bassett, inverted commas, found hiding in a lifeboat. Identified by Gosling and Johnson as not Bassett. And he was thrown into the brig until the dock at New York. Don't forget that's where it was sailing.
Oh, wow.
Harvey sent a radio message about the arrest on board the Titanic. The Titanic flounders and sinks with 1,300 lives lost. Murder occurs in New York on the 19th of May, 1912, identical to the murders in Southampton and the Titanic.
Oh, wow. That's weird.
Now, they got him. They got him. They arrested this fella who was found in the lifeboat, and they put him in the brig. What you've got to remember is this. No ordinary crew members knew about the murders, right? So, if he's thrown in a brig, the ship flounders and is going to go down. How does he get out the brig? Have you any idea?
No, not at all.
He survived. Well, okay. It's simple. Because I've lost my final page, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
I don't know where it is. But anyway, what has happened is that, as the ship was sinking and people, were scurrying here and there, and one of the doors must have been open to the brig. One of them just must have looked in and gone like that. What are you doing in there? And the fella who was in the brig said, I was thieving. So he just let him out. He just let him out the brig because he didn't know nothing about murders. He knew nothing about anything. This fella who let him out, he just thought that he was thieving some things, the likes of food, or for example, because there was lots of steerage. There was lots of steerage passengers. And they would pilfer anyway. I'm not saying they would, please forgive me. But, if they were hungry, they would, pilfer. They wouldn't do any other real damage. But, when everything goes quiet and the kitchens are open and there's food left over, they go in and take it. And that's what this fella thought. So we let him out. Now, the murders, as I said, about identical to the murders on the Titanic, and also the murders in Southampton.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
whoever, this fella survived, obviously he got to New York, he was picked up. And he was one of the survivors. Gets to New York, right? No one knew anything about the murders. Only the light lawyer and a couple of officers, but also the others who knew, they were perished. They died. So only light lawyer knew. Now don't forget, a lot of light lawyers there, plenty. A lot. And all as he was thinking of was about the survivors. You see, so by the time they got to New York, they were just absolutely delighted that they were on land and safe from the tragic events. The tragic events. So anyway, this fella, and obviously he must have thought as well, which he did, that he was drowned. He went down with because he was locked in the brig. So he went down with the Titanic, so obviously he'd be dead. This is what he's thinking.
Oh.
So it wasn't a matter of urgency to say, oh, by the way. So he made his escape. As soon as he hit dry land, he made his escape. Gets into New York, finds lodgings, and in those lodgings, I don't know, 74th Street or something like that. It was on the banks of the Hudson anyway. And there was a couple of murders there. But their belongings of these two people, that was taken. You know, a bit of jewellery or money that they had as well. So that was taken. And then weeks later, again, that's like the Southampton murders, those two murders in New York.
Wow.
So in the dockside, he was pilfering. This is a battle of survival. He survived the greatest maritime tragedy, the Titanic. He survived that. He's trying to survive in New York. So he went down the docks, the most easiest place to the. Don't forget, it's a new experience for him in New York. It's a brand new experience for him. So the easiest way to get by and survive was to go down the docks, because he knew the docks. To pilfer there. But unfortunately, he was seen. He was seen by a stevedore who looked after the docks, you know, like a foreman or something like that. And he seen this fella, but he's seen him over like a couple of weeks, not just once. So a couple of weeks he was coming in every other night and stealing things, but he couldn't catch him. So he informed the police. He said, look, there's a fella here, and he keeps there, but he comes now and again. So the police set a little stakeout for him, and they seen him, and he was pilfering. Now don't forget, this fella was a murderer. He was a serial killer.
Yeah.
So he didn't give a toss about anything. So if you approached him, he's going to kill you. He is going to kill you if you approach him.
Oh, sure.
So it's a battle of wits between this Davis and whoever confronts him. It's a battle of wits.
Wow.
So where he was like staying, you know, he was having to pay rent, so he was all right with these people. You know, new place that is, not the old place where those two bodies were found that he stole from in the first place. You know, the first lodging house that he got to. So anyway, it was a battle of survival. Then he was seen, as I said, a stakeout, and the police were there. But what had happened, he tried to get away, he tried to escape, because they just shouted, you know, stop, you're under arrest, pointing guns at him. There's little, you know, we don't have guns in this country. And he really thought that he could just run away. And, you know, they were shouting, stop or we fire, stop or we fire. Anyway, they fired him, shot him dead.
Wow.
And they just left it at that.
Oh, wow. That's bizarre.
Did you like that?
Yes, that's oh yeah, I love true crime. That's just amazing. Wow.
So how about that, eh?
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. Good. First I've ever heard of that. I've never heard of that before.
No, you wouldn't, and you'll never will.
No.
You'll never will. It's like a lot of things that goes on in life that you never get to know about.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Well,
No doubt.
it's a waste. As they say, it's a waste of time.
Oh wow.
It's a waste of time.
Well, I'm so glad I stayed in here to check that out. That was interesting. Thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
That's awesome. I just want to. I just want to see if anyone's mentioned it, but they haven't. You know, let's see if anyone's mentioned it. Let me go down.
That was
Yeah,
a journey.
listen to it. Kalila was the USA moon landings genuine or not? Yeah, Lynn was saying, I was concerned this hadn't come on Facebook. That's the show. I don't know what's happened, to be honest, Lynn. I'm just trying to find. See, Steve says, Frank and Anthony, you're well behind on it. I know that. I'm sorry, but it's the way it is. Yeah, look. Date love past mystery incident. This is what you were talking about, Frank. Happened in 1959. Yes. That's why I said it sounds like Daytona. Daytona over there in the States. The date, yes. That's what I was talking about. Good man. Good man. No one mentioned it.
Pass, yeah. Yeah,
No one.
yeah, that was bizarre. They still don't know. They still don't know what it was.
No, they don't. They don't. And when you look at these mysteries that go on around the world, look, for years, you know, when you start getting a little brain cell together, you know, and you start like questioning things, when you start questioning things. And I've always wondered, now they've been carbon dated now, pyramids, 10,000 years.
Oh wow.
10,000
Amazing.
years.
That's
Right.
amazing. It's just hard to wrap your head around.
You look at the pyramids, say like that's one there,
Mm-hmm.
that's one there, parallel. Then you've got another one, parallel. So you've got them all in line.
Right.
On every top of the pyramids, whatever it is, or wherever it is, points to Sirius, points to Sirius. Where, especially in Giza, the beam of light goes right through the top of the pyramid and it zigzags down to the Pharaoh's tomb.
Oh wow.
Okay, now then, in the tomb, what you find, a cat. Cats.
Okay.
And I mentioned this the other night.
Yeah.
They know every species, every single species, whether it's an insect, whether it's an animal, whether it's a mammal, where they originate from. They still haven't found out the origins of the cat.
Oh wow.
So why were they found in these pyramids? And no one can tell me. They'd have to convince me, honestly, the best, even if it was Einstein, they'd have to convince me. You know, I've got an IQ of 172, right? And to convince me of anything, it's got to be spot on.
Right.
10,000 years ago, No, no disrespect to these people I'm going to mention. No Arab came out and went, tell you what, lads, let's do this and sort of thing, like a pyramid shape, triangle. I said, we build that egg and then we put our pharaohs in there. What do you think? And they all went, yeah, all right. Each stone, tons, and I would have had in just one pyramid, the whole, going back then, the whole of the world's population to drag a few stones across.
Wow.
From where they were found.
Yeah.
In 10,000 years, what can I use as a, let's use this. In 10,000 years, where am I? That's a pyramid, okay? That's a pyramid. In 10,000 years, on soft sand.
Right, yeah.
It's moved less than a quarter of an inch. Figure that out.
I can't. I don't think I could.
Mind blowing.
Even the Sphinx, the famous Sphinx.
Yeah, the Sphinx, yeah.
They can't unlock it. They haven't found a way to unlock it. And they reckon that everything about the pyramids, how they were originally made, are in there. So I've always said, who built the pyramids?
Yeah, that's something. Yeah, I mean.
No, I'm telling you now, people 10,000 years ago, no matter how bright they were,
They would not have the means to do it. They would not have had the means to do it.
Americans in the last 10 years, and even as recently in the last 2 years, around 10 years ago, they built a pyramid. Small pyramid, by the way. Small, it wasn't a great big thing. Or they tried to, and they couldn't.
No.
With today's technology.
Yeah. That's amazing. That really is.
2 years ago, he did the same. And they said, we'll build it on a little, much smaller scale, obviously. And they still couldn't do it. Remember the sarcophagus that was found? And when they found it and they opened it up, it was glass inside. When they took the mummy out,
right,
they said there wasn't one mark on anything. And, these top physicists, scientists, whoever it was, said it could never have been chiseled out. They would have had to use lasers for the precision, because the precision is so right. Each corner is so right. There's not a mark on the rock was, the inside of it was, it was the hardest rock on earth, the hardest rock, and yet they sculpted it, and they built made the thing that the
so you
think
civilization was here before us, right?
Well, the thing is, I watched a film the other night, last week or the week before, and it was called 65, and I watched it, and I think he's a great actor, this fella named Adam Driver, a very good actor. And when I watched it, I went, wow. It was at the end that I went, wow. Because it told me something. It told me something. And I said to Jason, the producer, I said, Jay, do yourself a favor or do me a favor. Watch 65. Jason gets no time. And he found time and he watched it. He sat on his own and he watched it for 2 hours or whatever, how long it was on. And he said, oh, what's that film? I said, what do you think? He went, brilliant.
And it's called just 65. That was all it's called.
And it's only what you said, Kalila. What you asked. It's only what you asked.
I'm gonna go check it.
I'm not going to answer it. You see, I'm not going to answer.
I'm gonna check it out today because I got to go to work. But
watch the film.
I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it. And you should check out. There's some. I'll have to send it to you though. There's some documentaries out there about a place here in North America called Mount Shasta, and there's some interesting things about that as well.
About I'm sorry, I missed that.
Mount Shasta in California.
Oh, yeah, Shasta, yeah.
There's some very strange things that they found inside, in it and around it and all.
Yeah, I think like lots of mysterious things happen in huge countries. You've got the indigenous people of America.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever read a book called Manitou?
Manitou? No.
Manitou.
Manitou, no. I'll check it out though.
It's spelled MANATOU. The Manitou. And do you know what it is?
Is it like a skinwalker or something?
It's a what?
Is it like a skinwalker?
Do you know what, you're good? Rather than give the book away,
I'll go read it.
Read it. Read it.
Okay.
Read it. Just read it.
They have some strange things in Native American lore. They do have some very strange things. Very.
Oh
strange.
yeah, well the Manitou it's got something to do with the indigenous things.
I will check it out. I will definitely check it out.
It's really good, If you read it before you come on again in a few weeks' time, I'll be delighted to get
I will try. My biggest problem is I work 7 days a week, believe it or not. So finding time to do it. But I'm having my hip surgery in November, so maybe I'll have time to read.
Oh, yeah, well, you'll be able to read it then while you're lying in bed recovering from
time to catch up on that. But I will definitely check that out because this is just fascinating.
Have you enjoyed it tonight?
I did indeed. Indeed. Thank you so much. It was very, very.
You're welcome. Glad you stayed.
Glad I stayed too. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. Most welcome, Kalila. Most. Been great. George said, he says, Frank, I have been inside the Great Pyramids at Giza, Khufu's tomb. Egyptologists explained the method to me. I saw how the rocks were split in a demo, respectfully. The mystery is solved. Yeah, Egyptologists, they're not going to, if they say something, all their theories are gone. everything. I'm afraid. I know. I wanted to be an archaeologist.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was my ambition, to be an archaeologist. And I took us up in the first year at university. And soft lad me, decided to take a year out, they call it gap years now. But I decided, because all these posh people, hello, to me, and anyway, they took a year out. They're taking a year out, Frank. About you, are you taking a year? I said, no, I'm staying there, I'll have to carry on with me. Anyway, as he said, I said, oh, why not? Because they were all gone. They were all nice people, actually. And I took 12. So when I went back, I was doing Roman. I was doing the Roman artifacts, Egyptology.
Oh, yeah.
So I just loved the Roman period. I thought they were a fantastic race. I'm biased, by the way. With my mum's side, all Italian. But anyway, that's by the way. And what had happened was, I took 12 out, went back, and I just went in as Jack the Lad, Carson. I went in. I want to go back to my studies of defence, but not doing that anymore. But what we are doing, but you have to set a paper. So I sat a paper, and I thought it would have been something like the same. But it wasn't. It was Egyptology.
Oh.
And I didn't want to do Egyptology. I didn't want to go to. I'll tell you where they were going, and I could have gone. And it was a place in Syria called Palmyra. And it was a Roman town. And ISIS were blowing it up. They blew loads of it up. ISIS. Remember?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm not real familiar with Egyptian mythology. I'm not real.
I just didn't want, but what they would have done, they would have been in Egypt, and they would have been in South America, India, the Incas.
Yeah, they have a lot of their own pyramid type things.
Yeah, well, that's it. They all run parallel. There's even stones looking over the Pacific. I forget where it is. I don't know whether it's Christmas Island or what. I'm not quite so sure, or Easter Island. And you've got these faces, huge statues.
That's Easter Island. Yes.
Easter.
Yeah.
Well, around, they run parallel with the pyramids. How's that?
There's got to be some kind of connection to that. There must be.
Yeah.
How's that?
I watched a documentary last night about a BBC one, and civilizations following when these monumental heads were produced tried to destroy them. So what we've got now in the modern age are these items that have got dents and stuff in them but could not be destroyed. Now they've hit things, they've tried to blow them up, set fire to them, everything, and they're still here.
Oh, wow. That's bizarre.
Well, you've only got to look at that.
Yeah, I'm going to send you the link, Frank. I'm going to send you the link for that documentary on Mount Shasta. I think
you're all smashing.
Yeah. It talks about a lot of this stuff and a lot of the Sasquatch and everything, and then it's got the whole. This is another story. This is another subject for another day because there's no time. But it talks about the whole reptilian thing.
It's a massive field, is it? And what you two guys have uncovered tonight, really, and it's out there, is that the more we know, the more we educate ourselves with things and times and dates and things, the less we know about the world and the universe is a massive thing, and we know next to nothing.
That's true.
Can I ask you, Anthony? Can I ask you?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And the same for you as well, Kelly. I'm going to mention. I'm going to mention H.G. Wells,
Yes.
Okay.
Jules Verne.
Yes.
Jules Verne.
Jules Verne, yeah. Yes.
Now, were they visionaries?
Yes.
They could have been. When I watched the theme for Mount Shasta, I thought about Jules Verne, and it's kind of like, is this a chicken egg thing? It's like, what came first? Did Jules Verne know about this? Was he a visionary? But there's actual documentation that there were groups that went into Mount Shasta many, many, many years ago and investigated it and came back out with a lot of this information. So, maybe he just wrote about something he had heard about. I'm a little askewed about all the details on that because it's been a while since I saw that show. I'll have to dig it up, watch it again, and send it to you because yes, it's very in line with the Jules Verne stuff. Very much.
Well, the point is, you say, Anthony knows this man, and he was the greatest visionary of them all, and that was Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh yeah, he
And with Anthony being an artist, he knows. You go on, Anthony.
It's not just Leonardo, though. Leonardo is the greatest now in this present time, and we've been all this time. It's the possibility that he had someone on the other side saying to him or whispering in his ear, this would be a good thing to do. This would be a good path to go down. And some of the things that are happening in life, certainly artistically and literally, and we can now kind of point at not millions of people, but many, many people who seem to be dropped by God or something to have this massive knowledge. It's like they have inside information.
No, I do agree with that. I do agree with that to some degree. I think there are some people here who are not of this world, definitely. Yeah. Some in a good way, some in a not so good way. But I do believe in that, and I've always, I think a good example of that is a lot of musicians, who just born with this knowledge. And look at Prince. Prince was that guy was not of this world. He really wasn't.
Yeah.
He just, but a lot of artists and musicians and all, yes. Who knows? I think there's so much we don't know. We have no idea. But it is fascinating. It is very, very fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's forever a beacon really for everyone else to aspire to. And we know, I think it was Salvador Dali, or could have been Miles Davis, who said, do not aim for perfection because you'll never ever achieve it. Yeah, some of these people have. And Leonardo being mine, and a big hero of Frank's as well. And as the pyramids and as various things have happened over many, many centuries, and you think, wow, how did you do that? And we're still no closer to understand.
No.
And we have so much in our culture. We have so many distractions, so much that's coming at us. Like, I don't watch the news. I never watch the news. I try to not watch the weather unless, like a big hurricane's coming and I need to know. But I just try to not feed into a lot of that stuff because I think a lot of it's just distraction. So we're really not poking around too much at things like this. But it is fascinating. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at different aspects of the globe, I'm talking about the whole of the world, and you've got different cultures around that world.
Yeah.
There's a tribe in Kenya. A tribe in Kenya, right? And they do a dance. And when they, I'm talking about the 60s, and they have a ritual every year, right? Every year. And they do a circle in the dust, a circle in the dust, big circle. And they put these round things in this circle. And they do this dance, this ritual. Then when the ritual is finished, they draw a figure. And these, like, whether they were explorers, this is the 60s, and you know the way you had documentaries, you know, TV companies going out and going to the likes of Borneo and going, oh, look at this jungle. Right. Or going to the rainforest of the Amazon and whatever. But they were in Kenya this time. And they came up with this village, you know, out of the way, because it's huge, you know, Kenya, especially in desert form. And when they came up across this, it was only a small village, you know, these straw hut things and whatever. And they were dancing around, and he was taking pictures and whatever of these little round things in this big circle. What were the round things?
I don't know, representations of somebody with the astronaut kind of thing. Okay,
good that. What they were planets.
The planets, okay.
They were planets within this big circle, which obviously represented the universe.
Yeah.
These planets.
But how would you do that?
Can I finish, please?
Okay.
You're going to shout at me? These planets, and the figure was that their beliefs was that this figure came from one of these planets, and they pointed at the planet that they came from, right? And it was around the same time as Betty and Barney Hill. And Betty and Barney Hill said that they were abducted in 1963. And when they went under hypnosis and regression, they did these planet things. And there was no such place as these planet things. This is under hypnosis. And then in 1969, with these new like telescopes and whatever, they actually found a planet that Barney and Betty drew under hypnosis. They found it. Go back to Kenya. It was the same system, planetary system, and the same planet as these people, these Kenyans doing rituals. They even do it today. It's their ritual. And this figure came from one of those planets. They found that the planets. So how do you explain that?
That is amazing.
Unexplainable.
Unexplainable, yeah.
It's just amazing.
It's unexplainable. And we have to try. We have to try and look. I love literature. I love poetry. I love Dickens. But when you look at the likes of Jules Verne, when you look at H.G. Wells,
George Orwell,
you stole me tons of them. I was going to say, in modern day, you've got George Orwell. And what's happening today? What George Orwell was writing about?
Wow.
So far ahead. It's unbelievable to think how you are of a time and a place. How can you even conceive of that
Right.
events and people? And it's mind blowing. Well, there's just on a smaller note, they've just discovered. You talking about the pyramids? They've just discovered something which I've not followed up yet, but Stonehenge, which is part of England's folklore, and long assumed that the stone that was used in these massive, whether they be altars or whatever it was originally formed for, was Welsh, which is where they're placed. And scientists have just evaluated that the stone is from Scotland,
Yeah.
which is quite a considerable way up the motorway. And none of this stuff would go on the back of a horse and cars. No, so it's like, how was there an explosion that threw this? We don't know. It's like before. The more we discover, the less we know. We're still looking.
Well, do you ever remember Anthony Kalila like this? I've got to finish soon. Do you ever remember me showing? I had Gerard Gilligan on. Remember the astronomer?
Yeah.
And he was on, and I showed him what I filmed, took photographs of.
I remember it well.
He couldn't figure it out, could he? But he wouldn't admit what I thought it was. And because the trajectory was going up, it was going up underneath the plane, and it was going fair. And as the plane went further away, it was going, and it was still going up. And he said, "They never admit anything, as you know, astronomers, not astrologers. I'm sorry." They never admit anything, and he said, "Oh, it could have been debris coming from space."
That's right. But that would have come down,
and it wasn't going up. There's no way that debris falls. It's the law of gravity, isn't it? When something falls, it's the law of gravity. James MK. He's my hero, Tesla. I was going to mention him, actually. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla. My hero. One of my heroes.
Yeah, everything's frequency and vibration, absolutely.
Well, that's why astrophysicists today, they say, if there's anyone out there, you've got to speak in their language, which is mathematics.
but this is the great link between what we're talking in terms of universe and spirituality, I think, because for many years, people with a gift or a passion or the ability to create something, someone would say they've got medium-like powers, in that they can talk to otherworldly people, and that's where the focus or the attention comes for to expand on a particular thought, which I've always been fascinated with, and I strongly imagine that could happen and does happen. But what we're describing tonight is some even bigger. It's the sense of universe and spirit is the same. That power is not tapped by any of us mere ants on the planet. It's fascinating learning to discover something, all the time. I mean, that's why we're here tonight and why we're talking. And it's strange, really, how all different subjects will form as one.
Well, yeah, because what we're talking about. So I'm drinking a cup of tea, right? So I'm thinking this away. Point is, that cup was made up of atoms. We're made up of atoms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you now, and I'll finish on this. And Kalila will be sick as a pig. It wasn't Robert Oppenheimer, who split the atom. It was a Liverpool professor, Sir James Chadwick, here in Liverpool. And they had to send for him on the Manhattan Project. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Well, you know now. So you can tell all your mates that, here, in your lovely American accent, here, do you know what? You know that Robert Oppenheimer? He didn't split the atom. It was some scouser back in Liverpool, England. And they had to send for him to go join this most secretive of all secretive projects, and no one could penetrate it. It was steel. And they had to send for him. He said, we'll have to get that fella over, Chadwick. So he came over and went like that. Yeah, Robert, right, this is how you do it.
Wow. Wow.
So, a weapon of mass destruction was formed, and it was dropped on civilians, which I'm totally against. That's why I'm totally against wars. Kalila, thank you for tonight.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
What did you think of Kalila, Anthony?
Absolutely fascinating. Just wonderful to listen to you. You're talking, and it for me it helps my thought process to hear you talk and the things you've been through.
Thank you. And you're quite a plethora of information yourself.
Yeah. See, the thing is, with like conversations, this was just a lovely conversation. Right? A lovely conversation.
I learned a lot.
Now, do you think that people can make you believe something?
No, I don't think people can make somebody believe something. I think that either experience or information obtained can cause someone to decide to believe something different.
Okay. Because, as I said, you can say something. Fake news is in abundance.
Right.
Fake news. Propaganda is in abundance.
Oh,
No matter what area you come from or you're in. Right? Propaganda. It's always been there. Everything has been there. Even there was a great writer called Cicero, Roman writer, and Suetonius. They were great writers. And the point is, they said, no matter what's written, whether it's the truth or it's exaggeration, it'll be hard to believe. Right, that's what he said. That's what I don't know whether it was Cicero or Suetonius, but the greatest writer of them all was Tacitus. And Tacitus said, what I write is the truth. What people believe in is up to the people themselves.
That's true.
I think he's a great writer. Now, what I said to you there before, I'm going to surprise you. Right?
Right.
I'm going to show you it now. Right? What does that say at the top? Murder on the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that is? That's a synopsis of a play I had written.
Ah, okay. Okay. Very good.
How about that? Hey?
Very good.
So you see, I'm not saying it's propaganda or anything like that. It's just something that I love. Sorry there, Kalila. It's something that I love, you see. I love, I like poetry. That I don't want to get it published or anything.
Oh,
I like poetry. I've written a book or two. I've written plays. And I've written it, and the true plays, by the way. The true, it's true to the thing. So I decided to write an intriguing one. What could be more intriguing than a murder that occurred on the Titanic?
wow.
No one knows about it.
Nobody knows about. That's interesting. Very, very interesting.
So there you go. And that's the end
Brilliant.
of the show.
All right. Well, thank you guys, because I got to get back to work. You've noticed I keep looking down because they're telling me now everybody wants an answer on what are we doing tonight? What are we doing? What's happening with the buses? I gotta know. So,
That's over that hurricane anyway. Take care. Look after yourself. Stay safe. Okay.
Thank you so much. And I'm going to send you some information too. It was a pleasure.
Excellent.
You.
Excellent.
Good night, guys.
Ciao.
Good night. Have a wonderful night. Take care.
Ciao. Wow, isn't she lovely?
What a lovely, what a journey we've been on. Three of us, I feel like we've been somewhere and come back.
We'll just go through these things here. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think of the terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla.
Yeah.
That's an actual quote from Tesla.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
He's one of my great heroes, is Tesla, James.
And we can pass on that energy.
Yeah. Well, this is what it is. You and I here now with Kalila there before. Never been a mummy found in the pyramids, says the Midnight Talker. Lots in the Valley of the Kings, though. Well, there you go. There you go. George says James Tesla was a genius and died alone and penniless in a New York. These globalists that are wanting you today, globalists, have been going for years. And they're shutting down freedom of speech.
There's something in that, because we're going back and Kalila, we're going back, and why do people do that? Why do they do that? Because they want to be rich or famous, or they want to be looked at with respect. But the very body of people who tell us the truth don't do it for money or celebrity or to wear a big hat. They just do it because they feel we should know.
Yeah, well, Tesla, he I know it sounds mad, but he invented the electricity, he invented everything, and he set up 2 big towers. But J.P. Morgan and Edison, they were greedy. They went, no, he wanted to give the world free electricity. He said, because it belongs to them.
For free.
It belongs to you. And that's how he died, penniless, because they just took it off them. Anyone who invents anything. There was a fella in America, an American, who was driving around. I'm talking I think the 60s or the 70s, not quite, I think it was the 70s, driving around in a car, and he had this like little mad fandangled engine. It was like a little bucket on the top. He said, I'll modify this. This will be modified in the future, of course. And it could run on water. And it was running, he was driving.
Oh.
Now, he ended up dead. He ended up dead. Not long after he was showing me, look at this. It's only runs on water. Because what's the most valuable commodity that wars are fought over? Oil.
Oil. Yeah.
Regime changes and everything. Oil. George Seth says, here is a theory. Stones contain mica, which has a substance can retain sound waves, that is, voice recordings. When vibrated, these sounds are released into the air. Think about that. Yeah, because I forget where it is, and there's like noise by all these stones that emit. They didn't know where the noise was emitting from, but they reckon that they found out that, like these scientists said, it's the stones themselves emitting noise.
Wow.
Stones just lying there. And James answered them by saying Tesla touched upon this. And Sean, you're coming on next week, aren't you? Instead of this week, you can't do anything this week, but he's coming on the football show next week. Great show, folks. Thank you, Sean. Sorry I couldn't read everyone's, honestly, I'm sorry I couldn't read everyone's comments because of Kalila. This is a great book, Chariot. Yeah, Eric Van Dyneken. I used to have a copy of it. Lent it out and I never get it back. So got that, or I had it. James read it. And James says, lovely girl, she is. She is. Rupert Fellows. What a name. Rupert Fellows. You think like Rupert Fellows was a Hollywood script writer, wouldn't you? If we got into today, JT, we got that guy named Rupert Fellows, that English guy. Great writer. Rupert Fellows. Nice to join us, Rupert. Listen, if you subscribe, if you haven't subscribed, get the algorithm up there. Tesla wanted to give free energy. Yeah, Morgan and said, I'll do exactly. That's how they ruined Tesla. He wanted to give the world electricity simply because he said,
yeah,
it belongs to the world. It doesn't belong to us.
Yeah.
AC/DC. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. George said Frank Westinghouse was terrible to Tesla. That's why he died penniless and lonely. He was a Romanian. And just sad. As I said, one of my heroes. Yeah, Frank, looking forward to it next week. Say Sean. That's your John Henry impression, Frank. There is. You can't have Rupert Fellows on. Well, anyway, I think one of the most important things about tonight was the conversation. We never got much out of her. She'd be better on the. I'm doing a UFO podcast very soon of getting the material together, pictures and things.
Yeah.
And It'd be good if Kalila could come on and she could show pictures. George said, "Good night, everyone. 5 a.m. comes quickly." I can't sleep. I can't sleep. I had to go to bed this I text being asleep. I text Jason at 4:15. I said, "Jason, I've got to have a sleep. I've got to try and have a sleep. I haven't been asleep." So I said, "Will you wake me up at 7 o'clock?" He said, "Yeah." But anyway, I did fall asleep. And I woke up myself at 10 to 7. And they're the only hours I've had of sleep in about 2 days.
Yeah.
2 days. It's shocking. Insomnia. And it frightened me actually because I was reading that you could actually die, lack of sleep. But anyway, Anthony, thank you once again. There's only me and you next week.
Thank you. That's brilliant. And I've said it time and time again. I love spending time with you and with the guys asking the questions, because there is never a time we've got together that I haven't learned anything. And I've got a little scribble pad in front of me with all sorts of things. So I'm going a reading tomorrow and try and track some of that down. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, honestly. And as James says, Nikola Tesla was Serbian. Yes, I said Romanian, didn't I? Yes, Serbian. Well, you've got, RS. And it ends with an M. Romanian, RS, Serbia. And the greatest tennis player that's ever lived came from. And I'm not even trying to spell his name for you. From Serbia, great Serbia. Yes. Anyway, it's been fruitful. It really has. That's why I love the likes of Leonardo. I love the likes of, Michelangelo. But Da Vinci, to me, he was a visionary. He was a visionary.
Absolutely, and it's like it's feasible to call them people of a different worlds, different planets. Just out of reading that last line then of Tesla dying in a hotel in New York, it wasn't the Chelsea hotel, was it?
I know he died a lonely old man and penniless. He never had anything. And yet he was an absolute. We all talk about Einstein. This man, Einstein was great, you know what I mean? He was. You had great people throughout the centuries. But to me, Tesla was the man. He was the main man. He was like the art world and Leonardo da Vinci.
I see the same thing, yeah.
See what I mean?
Whether it's true or not, it's been reported as false, but one of Leonardo's final quotes lying on his deathbed was, "I send my apologies to the Lord for not being as good as I wanted to be." That's an abbreviation of what he said, and which is the most humbling thought, because what are we now? So many hundreds of years further, no one will ever come close.
No.
Million miles.
He drew the perfect circle, didn't he?
But we do the we do the thing which upsets me more and more now is we make falseness the new god.
Yeah.
So you get artists who are absolute crud, and yet the papers or someone, the money people will say they are great. He's pickled a shark. No, she's done whatever. So they are. It disgusts me. It's crazy. It's total lack of respect from those that have done it.
Yeah. But it's as I said, he Leonardo will always live with the likes of you and I. It'll always live with the chat. It'll always live with everybody. People, unfortunately, haven't a clue about Leonardo da Vinci. Nobody. Nobody has a clue about the pyramids.
No.
Nobody. They just think that, oh yeah, they just broke it. But as I said, who built the pyramids? And it wasn't some Egyptian. It wasn't some Inca. It wasn't any of them. And as I said, they can't find the origins of the cat that was found in the pyramids. Also, what was found in Peru was a totem pole. It was, these like people, and talking about explorers here, going through the jungles here, Amazonian people and whatever, went through the jungles of Peru and found this totem. They found a totem, and they took samples of this. It was an iron pit, whatever it was. And there's 60,000 species, but things that make up iron, whatever it is, that's 60,000. So the samples they took from this thing, you couldn't find. It's not on that list of 60,000. So they haven't a clue where that totem came from or what it was made from. In the middle of a bloody jungle. But they reckon that the jungle wasn't there at the time. So there are lost civilizations. So it's been, oh, Myra Page, seeing you there, Myra. Hi everyone, I'm Frank. Hi Myra.
Oh, hi Myra.
I haven't been on, and I've been watching. I only watched 2 shows today of the Judge Napolitano. I never watched last night. Galloway. Never watched them. So I haven't been around, unfortunately, Myra. I don't know whether you were on the Judge today. I only made one comment, the first one, second one. Larry Johnson. All as I mentioned was Larry's shirt. That's all I mentioned. Great to thank you for dropping in, Myra. Thank you so much. Love you, obviously. Thank you. And within his works, there's hidden code. Yet they haven't found it, or whoever's got them. I think they're still looking for them, aren't they? As books, and no one knows where they are. Designed the helicopter based on the bones of birds. To this day, are you talking about Tesla? Because they're still looking for Teslas there. Eh? Because what you're saying, based on bones of birds, that's Leonardo da Vinci.
That's Leonardo, yeah.
Yeah, Leonardo. And a submarine. A submarine.
And this, as a young guy, decided that he wasn't going to school, and he was sitting amongst the animals. And wow,
Incredible. That's why. That's why I'm not saying books do learn us. Obviously, you know, we can read books. We can, you know, even look, but it's very, very hard and very difficult to understand some of them. As I mentioned, do you ever remember we were mentioning about those astrophysicists?
Yes.
When I brought them in, I was asked to bring them into this place.
Yeah.
And I brought them in, and I had them standing right there at the bottom of the room. And I said, I'm going to show you something here. And when I opened the curtains, they went, I said, no, walk closer. And as they were walking up towards the window, what was before them, as I first opened the curtains, was this huge figure. A huge figure. And as they were walking nearer, that figure was going away. And by the time they got to the window, it was well away from them. And they couldn't figure out 11 super astrophysicists, and they still couldn't figure it out, how that went away from them. And that's the beauty of it.
Amazing.
That's the beauty of it. The unexplained stories.
Yes.
The unexplained. And James says, Nikola Tesla said he was just another Athena. He said he was connected to something greater. He was one of the greatest minds ever. Yeah, James, of course, that's why I said, you know, I mentioned, everybody mentions Einstein at the drop of a hat. But no one hardly ever mentions, believe it or not, Tesla, Nikola Tesla. Nobody. I do. Anthony does. You do. Obviously, he was the greatest of all minds. When you think about it.
And we'll continue doing it, because that's what it's all about. It's dropping the seeds.
Yeah. And as James says, Leonardo da Vinci, man, draw. Well, I have to finish now. Myra, thanks for dropping in. Chat, absolutely brilliant. Without you to chat, you've been a show with myself and my lovely friend there, Anthony. And you wouldn't have the guests like we had Kalila Smith tonight. So, thank you for joining us. See you all tomorrow night on the football show. Liverpool football show. There'll be a little tribute. I'd like you to all comment about one of our greatest legends.
Yeah.
One of our greatest legends. So I'll see you all tomorrow night. And I just want to thank Jason for setting up everything. God bless, walk on. That's what we thank you, James. And let's hope that, you know, you can join us. I just want to mention again, for the last time, the sponsors of the Frank Carlyle Show, got painting services. Get them in. You'll find the description and everything else, the phone number, if you really need someone to do something. Any decorating, you'll find us in there. The show's description. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you.
Speak to you. It's going to get a little bit colder over the next couple of days. Then it's going to get a little bit warmer by the weekend. So let's hope that we're okay.
Yeah.
All right. Love to Laney. Speak soon.
Good night.